My name is Celeste Harper, and I am 32 years old. I thought I knew my family very well. I had worked really hard, got a good job in technology, and sent money home to help my family in Franklin, Tennessee. But last month, at a family dinner, everything I believed about my family changed in just a few words. My parents and my sister looked at me and said, "Nobody needs your money or you." Their voices were cold and serious. It felt like someone had slapped me. My sister even nodded with a smirk, making it hurt even more. The room went quiet. I could hear forks clinking against plates. I didn't say anything. I just sat there staring at my untouched food while I tried to understand what they just said. I had helped them so much. I paid to fix their house, bought my sister a big car, and helped her open a clothing store. And now they said things that made me feel like I didn't matter. I could have shouted, left the house, or yelled at them, but I stayed quiet. My mind was busy thinking about what I would do next, something they would never expect. I kept asking myself, what kind of family would make someone feel worthless? And what would you do if your own family made you feel unimportant? Stick around because what I did after that night changed everything. If you are as surprised as I was, write a comment below. Tell me where you are watching from. Don't forget to like this story, subscribe, and click the bell so you don't miss what happens next. You will want to see it. When I was growing up in Franklin, Tennessee, my sister Marin and I were very close. Our town looked nice with white fences and church events, but at home, life was not easy. Dad worked as a mechanic. His clothes were always covered in grease, and he worked long hours fixing cars. Mom stayed at home, making quilts to sell at craft fairs, but she didn't make much money. When I was 12 and Marin was 10, the economy got bad. Dad's shop lost customers and bills piled up. I could hear Mom and Dad arguing at night through the walls. They were scared of losing our house. Marin would come to my bed, scared, and ask if we would be okay. I hugged her tight and promised that I would always take care of her. That promise stayed with me like a heavy stone in my heart. School became my safe place. I studied very hard and got good grades. I stayed up late reading and doing homework, so I wouldn't bother Marin. My teachers noticed and told me I was really good at math and computers. By high school, I was winning computer contests and dreaming of a bigger life. Marin was different from me. She loved drawing and designing clothes in her notebooks. She made friends easily and laughed a lot. I wished I could be as carefree as her, but I focused on school. I wanted to make sure we could leave our small house and that Marin would never feel scared like we did during the hard times. When I was 18, I got a full scholarship to Vanderbilt University to study computer science. Leaving Franklin made me sad because it felt like I was leaving Marin behind. But I called her every week and sent her little gifts like sketch pads and colored pencils. She would tell me all about her dream of making clothes and opening a boutique someday. I graduated at the top of my class, got a good tech job in San Francisco, and started earning a lot of money by the time I was 25. I never forgot my promise to Marin. I sent money home to pay for Dad's debts, Mom's bills, and anything else they needed. Marin stayed in Franklin and became a first-grade teacher. She loved kids, but she really wanted to make clothes. She would send me pictures of her designs, and I would feel happy for her. When she was 22, she met Felix, a nice man who worked at a bank. They got married, and I paid for their small wedding at a chapel in Franklin. Marin looked beautiful in her white dress, and I felt proud, thinking I was keeping my promise to her. But over time, I noticed changes. Marin called me less, and her messages were short. When I visited, she teased me about living in the big city, and her words hurt. I thought she was just stressed. She wanted to open her clothing store, and I was excited to help her. I promised to give her money to make her dream come true. Our lives were very different. I worked 80 hours a week in a big tech company and lived in a modern apartment. Marin stayed in Franklin, teaching kids, drawing clothes, and building her life with Felix. I admired her for staying close to home, but I felt like she didn't like me as much anymore. One visit, she rolled her eyes when I offered her a new laptop. She said she didn't need charity. Her words hurt me, but I told myself it was just her pride. I kept helping them because I believed it was my duty. Dad and Mom thanked me quietly. I thought I was holding our family together. By my late 20s, I was sending more and more money to my family. I worked hard in San Francisco, but always made sure to help them. Dad's auto shop had closed, and they had very little money. Their small house was falling apart. The roof was leaky, pipes were cracked, and the wiring was old and dangerous. When Mom called, worried about the repairs, I sent $30,000 to fix the house. Dad thanked me over the phone, but his words felt short and formal. I told myself it was just his way of being polite. Marin's story was different. She loved teaching, but her real dream was opening a clothing store. She sent me pictures of her designs, very excited. When she decided to open her store, I sent $20,000 for startup costs and co-signed a $50,000 loan for things like rent and inventory. I even bought her a shiny black SUV to help her with deliveries. She said, "Ella, you're a lifesaver." And I felt proud. Her store, Thread and Charm, opened on Franklin's Main Street. It had soft lighting and brick walls. Marin sold her clothes and some things made by local artists. Her friend Sienna helped decorate the store with flowers. Marin posted pictures online, saying she was living her dream. I felt proud of her from San Francisco. Sienna called Marin a self-made entrepreneur, and people in town praised her. But things started changing. When I visited for the holidays, Marin didn't seem happy to see me. She hugged me, but then made small, mean comments. She said Miss Big City is back, gracing us with her presence with a tight smile. At first, I laughed, thinking she was joking, but her comments hurt more and more. At a family barbecue, she rolled her eyes when I offered new patio furniture and said, "We don't need your charity, Celeste." Her words were not playful, they were sharp. I tried to ignore it, thinking she was stressed. But deep down, it hurt a lot. I was helping her dream come true, yet she acted like I was showing off. Mom and Dad weren't much better. They said thank you for the money and house repairs, but our talks were short and mostly about bills. When I suggested visiting more, Mom said, "You're busy, Celeste." "We're fine." I wanted to believe her, but their silence felt heavy and cold. I started to notice little things that made me feel like I didn't belong. When I called Marin to check on the store, she would answer quickly and hang up faster than usual. She didn't ask how I was like she used to. My parents seemed distant too. When I sent them money for groceries, they thanked me, but I felt no warmth in their words. It was like I was invisible. Even the small things hurt. I would ask Dad if he wanted to go fishing like we used to, and he would say he was tired. Mom would smile but not talk much. Marin would show me her new designs but not really smile when I complimented her. It felt like my love and help didn't matter to them anymore. I remembered all the nights I stayed up late studying, all the money I sent, and all the times I gave up my free time to help them. I thought I was keeping my promise to Marin, keeping our family together, making sure everyone was safe and happy. But now it felt like none of that mattered. I wanted to cry, but I stayed quiet. I didn't want to fight with them. Instead, I thought about what I could do next. I wanted them to see me for who I really was, not just the money I sent. I wanted them to understand that love and loyalty are more than dollars and gifts. I realized something important. I could keep helping, but I didn't have to let them treat me like I was nothing. I didn't need anyone to tell me my worth. I had worked hard, taken care of them, and I had a life of my own. I could still be kind, still support them, but I didn't have to let their words hurt me anymore. That night after dinner, I went home and thought about my next steps. I knew I had to set boundaries. I had to show my family that respect is as important as help. I wanted them to see that I love them, but I also love myself. Sometimes families are complicated. Sometimes the people you love most don't act the way you expect. And sometimes the ones who should be grateful and kind can be mean. But that doesn't mean you have to give up. You can still care for them while standing strong and protecting your own heart. I decided that I would keep helping, but only in ways that felt right to me. I wouldn't let anger, pride, or jealousy control our relationships. I wouldn't let silence or sharp words make me feel small. I would show love, patience, and understanding, but I would also protect myself. And that's what I started to do. Slowly, carefully, I changed how I interacted with my family. I stayed kind, but I also stayed firm. I didn't let their anger or meanness make me feel worthless. I was still Celeste, the same girl who promised to care for Marin, the same girl who worked hard to make a difference in people's lives. And that's how my story begins. It's not the end yet. There are more surprises, more lessons, and more changes to come. But that night when they said, "Nobody needs your money or you," I learned something important. You can love your family and still love yourself. You can help others without losing your worth. And sometimes standing quiet, thinking carefully, and acting wisely is the strongest thing you can do. Marin's husband, Felix, was a kind man. He always smiled and tried to be nice, but he was distant. He spent most of his time at his bank job, and he didn't really notice how much I was helping our family. I kept sending money to my parents and to Marin, sometimes $5,000, sometimes $10,000. I thought that's what family is supposed to do, right? Family helps each other. I thought giving money would keep us connected. I remembered how hard it was when we were kids. I had promised myself that I would make things easier for them now that I could. Marin and her friend Sienna Clark started to become very popular in town. They opened a store called Thread and Charm. It became really famous because they held big fashion events that lots of people came to. When Marin posted pictures on Instagram, she was always smiling, standing behind the counter. Sienna Clark was always there with her, looking happy and proud. Sienna would write captions like, "Built this from the ground up," and I would type in the comments, "So proud of you." But Marin almost never replied to me. People in town started calling Marin Franklin's rising star. I felt proud at first. I was happy for her because I wanted her to do well. But then I started to notice something. Marin never said thank you. She never mentioned how much I had helped her. Not even once. Sienna Clark did the same thing. She praised Marin for doing everything by herself. I tried to tell myself that it didn't matter. I didn't need anyone to thank me. But there was a small voice inside me that hurt. It felt like Marin was telling a story about her life, and she forgot all about me. The distance between us didn't feel just like miles on a map anymore. It felt bigger than that. Last month, I decided to go back to my parents' house in Franklin for a family dinner. I wanted it to be warm and fun, like the old days. When we were kids, we would sit around the dining table, tell stories, laugh, and feel like a family. I had flown in all the way from San Francisco, carrying a special gift in my suitcase. I had planned a surprise for my parents' anniversary. 2 first-class tickets for a Caribbean cruise. I imagined their faces lighting up. Maybe I would get a hug from Marin too. I thought this would be a happy night. I was so wrong. That evening, everything I believed about my family started to crumble. The table was set beautifully with Mom's best dishes. The smell of her roast filled the whole house. Dad sat at the head of the table, carving the meat carefully. Marin was chatting about her store. Felix nodded along and sipped his beer. My cousin Tobias, who had driven over from his auto shop, cracked a joke about the Titans game. For a moment, I thought maybe this night could be good. Maybe we could all reconnect. After everyone filled their plates, I cleared my throat. I was ready to give my gift. "Mom, Dad," I said, sliding the envelope across the table. "I got you something special for your anniversary." I looked at their faces, waiting for smiles, maybe a hug. They looked at it, but no one smiled. Dad opened the envelope. His face didn't change. It stayed flat, almost annoyed. He looked at the cruise tickets and said, "Celeste, you think we need your fancy gifts to be happy?" My stomach turned over. My heart felt heavy. Before I could respond, Mom spoke in a sharp voice. "You're never here, Celeste. You just throw money at us to make up for it." Her words cut me like a knife. I turned to look at Marin for support. Maybe she would say something to help me. But Marin leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, a small smirk curling on her lips. "She's right," Marin said coldly. "Nobody needs your money or you." The room went completely quiet. The only sound I could hear was the faint clink of Felix's beer bottle hitting the table. I froze, my fork halfway to my mouth. Marin's words kept repeating in my head. "Nobody needs you." I wanted to scream. I wanted to remind them about the house repairs I had paid for, the SUV I had bought, the loan I had co-signed for Marin's store. But my throat tightened. No words came out. I scanned the table, searching for someone who would stand with me. Felix stared at his plate, jaw tight, avoiding my eyes. Tobias fidgeted with his glass, looking anywhere but at me. Marin just stared at me, her smirk turning into a full grin. I managed to whisper, my voice shaking, "Why would you say that?" She shrugged. Her smirk didn't go away. "It's the truth, Celeste. You think your money makes you part of this family? You're barely here." Dad nodded. "We've managed without you before," he said. "We don't need you showing off." Mom didn't speak, but her lips were tight, saying everything her words did not. Each word hit me like a punch. Years of sacrifice. Years of helping my family. And here they were, treating me like I was nothing. My hands shook as I put my fork down. I could have listed every dollar I had sent them, every bill I had paid. But what would be the point? They had made up their minds. They saw me as the rich sister who didn't belong. I pushed my chair back. The sound scraped loudly on the floor. "I need some air," I said, my voice trembling. No one tried to stop me. Felix stared at his plate. Tobias fiddled with his glass. Marin just stared at me, smiling now, completely satisfied. I grabbed my coat and walked out the door. The cool Tennessee night hit my face. It felt refreshing, but it couldn't numb the pain. I stood on the porch, alone, the words of my family burning in my chest. I didn't know what to do next, but I knew I couldn't let this go. The next morning, my friend Sienna Cook called me. I was still in my hotel room in Franklin, replaying the pain of last night over and over. Sienna's name lit up on my phone. She wasn't someone who called without a reason. She had been my best friend since high school. Always honest. Always blunt. "Celeste," she said, her voice serious. "You need to check Marin's Instagram. It's bad." My heart sank. I didn't want to know, but I had a feeling something was wrong. "What did she do?" I asked. Sienna hesitated. "She's been lying about everything." I opened Instagram with shaking hands. Marin's latest post was a photo of her standing in thread and charm, arms wide, smiling. The caption said, "Built this empire from nothing. Self-made and proud." The comments were full of praise. People in Franklin were cheering for her. "Proof you don't need handouts to succeed," someone wrote. I felt sick. I remembered all the money I had given her. $20,000 for her startup, co-signing a $50,000 loan, and buying her SUV. All the praise she got was a lie. She had been pretending she did everything alone. I scrolled more. There were more posts. Marin was with Sienna Clark, smiling with captions like, "Dream chasers who don't need anyone's help." I called Sienna back, my voice shaking. "How long has this been going on?" Sienna sighed. "A couple of years, Celeste. She and Sienna Clark have been telling this story since the store opened." I felt sick to my stomach. The betrayal hurt more than last night. Sienna Clark, her friend, was helping her tell a lie to the whole town. I remembered how she decorated the store, always tagging Marin as the independent queen. I had thought they were just close friends, but now it felt like a plan to erase me completely. I called my cousin Tobias. He had been at dinner, quiet while my family yelled at me. "Tobias, did you know about this?" I asked. He paused. "Yeah, I heard rumors. Marin says she funded the store herself. She says you just chip in sometimes. She didn't want to stir things up." His words hit me hard. For years, Marin had told everyone I was a distant sister who just tossed money at them while she took all the credit. Tobias added, "She's been doing it so long people believe it. Even Felix thinks she did it herself." I grabbed my laptop and looked at my financial records. My pulse was racing. The SUV I bought for Marin, a black Ford Explorer, was still in my name. I had never transferred the title. The loan for Thread and Charm, I was the co-signer. I was legally responsible for the payments. I had been paying $10,000 a month while Marin acted like she built everything herself. The realization hit me like a punch in the stomach. I held the keys to her empire. She had built her success using my money and then embarrassed me in front of our family. This betrayal wasn't just personal. It was public. I sat on the hotel bed, staring at my laptop screen, anger building inside me. Marin had been rewriting our story for years. She hadn't just hurt me at dinner. She had erased everything I had done to help her. By the second day, my sadness turned into determination. I was done being the quiet sister, the one who paid for everything while Marin claimed all the credit. Sitting in my hotel room, I picked up the phone and called my lawyer in San Francisco, Simone Baxter. I had worked with her before on problems with contracts. Now I need her help. I wasn't sure what I would do next, but one thing was clear. Marin's lie would not stand. Not anymore. She was smart, serious, and very good with paperwork. I called her and said, "Simone, I need to know about some things I own in Tennessee." I explained everything. I told her about the SUV and the loan for Marin's store. Both were still in my name. Simone was quiet for a few seconds, thinking. Then she said, "Ella, you are the legal owner of the car. And since you co-signed the loan, you can stop paying it. It's simple." Her words made me feel strong and ready. I wasn't just angry anymore. I felt like I could do something about it. First, I dealt with the SUV. That black Ford Explorer I bought for Marin wasn't really hers. I was the legal owner. I called the car store in Franklin where I bought it. I told the manager I was the owner and I wanted the car taken back. The manager hesitated. He didn't know what to do at first. But when I emailed him the papers showing I owned the car, he agreed to send a tow truck. "Do you want to keep it?" he asked. "No," I said firmly. "Sell it. Send me the money." It felt cold, but I didn't care. Marin had been driving that car and showing off, acting proud, while I was the one paying for everything, the insurance, the taxes, and all the bills. A few hours later, I got a message from the dealership. The SUV had been taken from her driveway. I pictured her confused face when she found out her prized car was gone. A quiet satisfaction settled inside me. Next, I dealt with the loan. I had co-signed Marin's $50,000 loan for her store, Thread and Charm. Every month, I had been paying $10,000 without complaining. Simone sent me a draft letter to the bank. It said that I would stop paying the loan. I signed it on my phone and emailed it to the bank officer. My heart was beating fast. The bank confirmed they received it. They warned that Marin would get notices about missed payments. I knew exactly what that meant. Without my money, her store would start to struggle. It wasn't only about the money. It was about stopping the lies she had built on my help. With the legal steps done, I turned to Marin. I didn't want to yell or cry. I didn't want to fight. I typed a message on my phone, my fingers steady. Marin, I know about your lies. I stopped paying the loan, and the SUV is gone. I'm done with your story. Good luck. I hit send. Then I blocked her number. No reply, no fight, just silence. It was the cleanest way I could end it. She had embarrassed me in front of our family and acted like my help didn't matter. Now she would see the results. I blocked her on Instagram too. That cut the last tie between her world and mine. A few days later, I started hearing whispers. People in Franklin were talking. My friend Sienna sent me screenshots from Franklin's community pages. Thread and Charm were in trouble. The bank had sent Marin a notice for missed payments. Locals were buzzing about it. One post said, "Heard Marin's store is struggling. Guess her self-made story isn't true." I didn't smile, but I felt a weight lift off my chest. Marin's business, which she said she had built all by herself, was starting to fall apart. Customers stopped coming. Her Instagram posts became fewer and less happy. The truth was catching up with her. And I didn't have to say a word. I sat in my hotel room, staring at my phone. My anger was still there, but it was quieter now. It was replaced by calm. I had taken control, not by crying, not by yelling, but by acting carefully. Marin had tried to make me seem unimportant, but I had shown her how much she relied on me. For the first time in years, I felt free, not from my family, but from the heavy weight of their expectations. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew I could face it on my terms. A week later, Franklin was full of talk about Marin's failure. Thread and Charm had closed. The bank had taken the store because Marin didn't pay the loan. I didn't even have to be there to know people were talking. Local message boards were full of posts about the closure. One shop owner wrote, "Thought Marin was successful. Guess not." Another wrote, "All that talk about doing it alone, now this." Her reputation, which she had built with lies, was breaking. I didn't feel happy, just quiet relief. Her lies had caught up with her. Back in Franklin, the problems even affected her marriage. Her husband, Felix, found out the truth, not from me, but from the gossip spreading in town. He confronted her about lying and saying the store was hers when I had been paying for it. Sienna texted me. Felix was furious. He was staying at his brother's house. Their marriage, which had already been weak, was now cracking under the pressure. I thought about Felix, imagining how shocked he must have been, realizing his wife had built her life on a lie. But I didn't dwell on it. That was not my burden anymore. My parents, however, didn't like what I had done. My phone was full of their angry voicemails. "Celeste, how could you do this to your sister?" my dad said. "You've ruined her life." Mom added her own sharp voice. "Why would you do this? You've destroyed her world." Their words hurt, but I wasn't surprised. They had always taken Marin's side, even when she had embarrassed me at that dinner. I didn't call back. Instead, I sent one text to both of them. I gave everything for years. Marin lied, not me. I'm done explaining. Then I blocked their numbers too. I wasn't going to argue or beg for their understanding. They had made their choice. I had made mine. The next day, I boarded a flight back to San Francisco. The Tennessee skyline faded behind me. Back in my apartment, I deleted all reminders of Franklin from my phone. Old photos, texts, social media ties, all gone. I unfollowed the community pages and blocked anyone who could drag me back into that life. My life in San Francisco felt different now. Sharper, cleaner, like a heavy weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I focused on work, on new projects at the tech firm. I started saying yes to things I had ignored for years. Dinners with colleagues, weekend hikes, even a pottery class I had always wanted to try. For the first time, I wasn't living for anyone else's approval. Looking back, I saw the lesson clearly. I had spent years tying my worth to my family's needs, thinking my sacrifices would earn their love. But love cannot be bought, and loyalty cannot be forced. Marin's lies and my parents' blame showed me that giving everything doesn't guarantee respect. I learned to draw a line and value myself enough to walk away. Setting boundaries wasn't selfish. It was survival. I could see it now. The time I had given, the love I had given, the help I had given, it mattered. Not to them, but it mattered to me. And finally, I wasn't carrying the burden of anyone else's expectations. Sitting in my apartment, sunlight streaming through the window, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. Franklin was behind me. The whispers, the lies, the stress, the anger, they were all gone. I was free to live my life on my own terms. I realized I didn't need anyone else's approval to feel strong. I didn't need Marin's lies to define me, or my parents' judgments to make me feel small. I could build a life that belonged only to me. A life full of real choices, real friends, and real happiness. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. Really breathe. Like I had shed a heavy coat I had been forced to wear for years. The anger that had been loud before was quiet now, and in its place there was calm. There was peace. There was freedom. I looked out the window and thought about all the things I could do now. I could travel, try new hobbies, meet new people, and work on projects that really mattered to me. No one could hold me back. No one could make me feel small again. I had finally taken control of my life. And as the sunlight touched my face, I smiled quietly. Not a big, loud smile. Just a calm, quiet smile. I had learned my lesson. I had stood up for myself. I had set boundaries. And most importantly, I had taken my life back. From that day forward, every choice I made, every action I took was mine. Not Marin's, not my parents', not anyone else's. Mine. And that freedom, that control over my own life, was the greatest gift I could ever give myself.